I think we're live. Cathey, we're here
We're here. Look at us.
inside the internet. How are you today?
I'm so awesome. How are you, Rose?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Really jazzed to be talking to my one of my most exciting and excitable friends, peers, and technically kind of my boss. I've had the honor and privilege of working with Cathey Armillas, Coach Cathey Armillas, for the last year and a half. Uh, she and her co-founder, Mark Williams, another favorite person on the planet to me, and just an incredible human, have been building, growing this incredible. It's not just an academy, the Speaker Skills Academy. It's not just an online network. It's like really this awesome communication movement. Can I be so bold as to say that, Cathey?
Oh, yeah. I think so. I really do.
Lots of us talk, but do we communicate?
Well, and even like communication movement, like let's kind of take an analogy and pair it up to how we have been receiving communications in the last couple of decades. It's so funny. Remember watching Jetsons when you were young, and you were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could just get up and then like the shower comes to you and all these like crazy great things." But the one thing that they always featured was like that we would be on video and talking, and that's what we're doing right now, right? So there's become all these new ways to communicate, but storytelling, speaking, and how we do it matters. It's not just the words. It's not just the way. It is so much more than that. And think about it. The old school way hasn't caught up yet to how do we really practice this in real time and really get some really good reps in, you know?
Totally. Well, and I just thought of this, even though we spent some time in the green room, kind of like figuring out what are we going to talk about, talking about communication, like how meta can we get inside the internet?
Talking about talking.
Which, if anybody knows me from the internet or IRL, like Rose Kaz, I love to get into the details, but also like go to the 30,000-foot view. But something that had just occurred to me, we did this thing, especially during COVID, where we like, okay, we have to be on Zoom. Okay, we're working online. Okay, we're doing all these things differently, faster, slower, whatever. But no one was like, hold on, time out. Let's get a tutorial on how we can make sure we're doing that. I don't want to say correctly, but doing it, how about effectively?
Yeah.
Right? So effective communication. I want to dig into that. So being effective, I feel like equals, at least for me, and I think what I have learned in the last year and some change working with you and Mark and the amazing community with Speaker Skills Academy, is the authenticity of communication. So can we talk a little bit about why authentic communication is like more than a soft skill?
Yeah.
Especially right now, right? Because anybody can talk, right? Like a lot of us just blow a lot of air. I'm from Chicago originally, Windy City. It's not just because it's windy there, is actually
a lot of speaking air.
yeah. Although I will say the news lately, that hot air seems to be slightly effective coming out of politicians' mouths. But all of the people, lots of us, we say things, but like it's not what we say, how we say it, right? But I'm just curious, you have been coaching people to speak effectively, communicate well and impactfully. Like, why does this matter? And what, from your perspective, is the best way to like, stay in your lane of authenticity as you're communicating, as we're communicating?
Yeah, it's really good. I also think when people hear a word like, authentic or authenticity, they'll think of maybe the broader sense of it. And if you think about when you're speaking and you're storytelling, nobody has the exact same experiences in life that you do. Nobody has the stories to back them up. Nobody has the wisdom that you've obtained. Nobody has the knowledge. You put all those things together, and that makes the most unique, authentic person ever, right? But our tendency, and I can tell you this from coaching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, is we tend to want to get into this weird lane where we're all saying the same thing. So if we're trying to put a message out there, like let's say we're trying to put a message out there that leadership is great, or to be a great leader, involves everybody. It's like, well, if there's hundreds of thousands of people saying that, what are the aspects from you that you can bring to it that make it yours? What's your unique angle? So some of it is really always thinking about what's my idea on this? What do I bring to this? What view do I have that somebody else doesn't have? And being able to use that voice, because people just like, I was coaching somebody today and I'm like, you're telling a story about when you almost died. So please make sure that you sound like you almost died when you're telling the story. Like, so literally bringing your voice to it, or your emotion, bring that piece of you back.
Well, okay, so that's like, I feel like in all the talks that I've seen you give, and going for the first time, Baby's First TEDx, it was this past April. I was like so happy to be there with you and Coach Mark, because I experienced it in a fully different way than if I had just gone like, oh, this would be cool. But one of the things I noticed on giving presentations in front of a large group of audience, right? Like maybe there was 3,000 people at TEDx, maybe it's in front of 30 people at your workplace, maybe it's 3 people around the water cooler, but like this piece of being like authentically yourself, like I hear you say, like, put your humanity into it, right? And even what you were talking about after you'd coached Scott Hanselman for TEDx Portland, I remember you telling me a lot of that. Like, he brings a lot of humanity to tech, which is why I just think his talk was so awesome generally, like as the concept. But I remember you saying specifically about the things that were important in his talk to bring the human forward, just like the woman who was like, I almost died. You're like, cool, let me hear the humanity there, right? But what about that same concept for just like communication, even if you're like, I don't have a TED talk yet, or I'm too shy for my talk that I'm running in my head that one day I'll give. What about people who are like a little too introverted to see themselves giving a big talk, but inside they know they have something to say?
Yeah.
How do they stay authentic?
Yeah.
And this one, I'm not asking for a friend, because I'm obviously an extroverted extrovert, like not exactly shy. They're kind of like, you've said enough. Let's hear from somebody else.
My favorite people to coach speaking? Introverts.
Really? Because you can pull it out?
Because they like to think.
Oh.
And I think that when you speak, if you want to really put your humanity into it, you're adding your own unique thoughts and your ideas, and that takes some thinking. And that's why with Scott, I love that you brought up Scott. Scott's was an interesting one. He was asked to give a TED talk on AI, and I remember I had never met him before. Before I met him to coach him, I had never met him, actually never even heard of him. And I get on the call with him for the first time, and I'm like, I mean, talking about AI, I don't know, it's going to be not valid in 3 months. What is a bigger idea that what do you feel like you uniquely can talk about? And you can use we'll get AI in there. Like, it's part of your job. You're a VP at Microsoft. We'll get AI in there. But imagine if the talk would have just been about what can AI do for the world? How many other people could give that talk? Millions, right? So there's so many people out there that give that talk. Who could give the talk the way Scott Hanselman did, which was the idea of what has tech promised us and what promises has it broken? And as you know, there were 3 things that he mentioned, and with each one, he had unique, personal, authentic, heartfelt, like, stories to go with all of them, and really inspirational stories that included all of us, not just him as well. And so when I work with somebody that likes to think, which is introverts, I'm not saying that extroverts don't think. I'm an extrovert, so I'm not trying to say that we don't think. But somebody that would like, because an introvert, when you talk to them, they're like, oh, I need to process that first. Like, they need processing time and stuff. It's because they're thinking about it. And I think if you want to be unique, authentic, you need to think more about what your ideas are. Not the words coming out of your mouth, but what's your idea? Even when you're talking to a friend, Rose, think about it. You're telling a story of something that happened. Shouldn't your mind be going, why am I telling this story? Like, why? What's the point?
Yes. You know what, Kelly, we didn't chat about this in the green room, but again, this is coming up as far as like a consideration or consciousness of what you're saying, because so much hot air can come out of all of our mouths, right? So many words. And I've learned over the years, like, not only do I have a lot of words, a lot of hot air behind them, I'm fiery, and I have no shortage of like, but also like, if I'm considerate about it and conscious and like, what am I even trying to say? Have I listened at all? Right. And this brings me to something I've heard you talk about a number of times. It's the I you balance, right? This brings to mind that story you tell about like trying to find your favorite pint of ice cream in the middle of the night in the fridge, and somehow it's gone missing. Somebody ate the last bite, right? So talk a little bit about that from like the standpoint of staying authentic and keeping the balance of like the attention that you want to receive from the person you're talking to. Again, maybe at the water cooler, maybe on the TEDx stage, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do we do that and still be empathetic to listen, but also speak what we're trying to actually communicate?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So when I'm teaching the IU balance, as you know, I always tell the story. It's a true story about me. So I bring me into it. It's a unique experience. Nobody else can have this exact story because it happened to me, not somebody else. And I talk about when I went downstairs to grab ice cream, and everybody knows to stay away from my ice cream. I don't eat much sugar, but I do love chocolate, and so I have a favorite. And when it's not there, the process of what I do, and then I show them two different versions of that story. One is like filled with me, I went down there, it wasn't there, I was so mad, I went to the store, I couldn't believe when I got to the store that they didn't have it, like and at some point I always ask the audience, like, all right, when did you check out? And every once in a while somebody will be like, I just really wanted to know if you got your ice cream. I'm like, awesome, you're like 1%. Everybody else checked out. But what if I make it your story? And then I will always, Rose, and you know this, I'll show people the complete other side of the spectrum, because I always want to show like the whole spectrum. It's still my story, but what if I make you own it? And what if I tell you, Rose, have you ever had a moment, or you're talking to an audience, have you ever had a moment where this thing happened to you, where you had something special and you had a stash of it and then you went and somebody took it? Even if the thing I tell you that, your stash was going to be, if it wasn't true or you didn't like it, your brain is now engaged and like arguing with me. So that's a way to take my story and make it our story. It's not me, it's we. And so I can add you into my story. And that's like a really advanced storytelling technique. But if we can always be that way, if we can always think, and we all know people. Do you have somebody like this in your family? You'll tell them something, you'll be in the middle of the story, they cut you off, and then they go, I went one time here, and then they're like, you're like, well, I'm not even done with my story. And you like cut me off and you're like, telling me your thing.
Yeah. I know those people. I'm related to those people. But so that's like the balance, right? And I'm curious, like people tuning into this live, we're streaming on a couple different platforms, people catching the replay. Even if you put it a comment after this airs, like love to know how that lands, especially in this moment in the world where like it feels like there's a whole lot of emphasis on the I, and maybe we might do better like going into the future forward. Like I'm a futurist. Although I was told the other day that's cringe, and I was like, really? Because I like to think about tomorrow. But right, like, what does that mean for you? The IU balance, as far as our audience goes. Because I just think that's it's good food for thought, using the ice cream analogy, right?
Or something, yeah, like I don't have it on right now, but I have my Nana Jane, before she passed away, she gave me this beautiful ruby ring, and I love it so much I don't wear it a lot because it freaks me out that something will happen to it. But what if I'm telling a story about my Nana Jane and how she died from breast cancer and how she was my favorite and I loved her, but then I brought you into it by saying, if your house is on fire, what's that one thing besides people and pets that you would go get? For me, it would be that ring. I mean, I would go find it and I would make sure I have it. And I've already brought you, not only have I asked you the question or put you in the scenario, I've gave you the same emotion that I'm feeling. And so we get to share that emotion as well.
Well, and I love that story that you shared about that ring the first time I heard it. And the second time I heard it, like two different emotional things parked like somewhere in my heart. So then when I ended up meeting your mom just a couple weeks ago, one of the first thing I was like, oh my God, of course you all look like you. She's like, oh, this is Cathey's outfit. That's why I look like her. And I was like, well, also, but you also, yes. And just her Italian sensibilities, I love. But I said, oh, what was the Nana's name with the ring? Because I immediately thought of my grandma and my granny's rings and like the special nature, even if they weren't the most grandiose, or even if because they were so simple, like it parked right there. So then I got to talking with your mom. Again, this isn't like a big, huge stage. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was just super. It was like we were sitting at the table before your talk at the at Revolution Hall, and we connected in a way that like
Mhm.
yeah, that goes back to that authentic communication, even if I can't say the word correctly. Um, that just like helps, I think, use our words like effectively. Even if I was not trying to convince your mom of anything except for that, like, I think your daughter is awesome, and thereby obviously you made her. So like cheers. And she was like,
You're
oh,
awesome.
just that connectivity, right?
Oh, and then immediately, so think about the effect of this. I love that you brought this up. I didn't even know that happened, that you were talking to my mom about that particular thing. That's her mom, of course, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Jane is her mom. So the minute, of course, you remembered it because it sparked some emotion within you. If I just would have said, "Oh, I have this beautiful ring, and my nana gave it to me," and there was really no connection with you, you might not remember that. You remembered it because it stuck to your heart. You bring that up to my mom, and now my mom, probably, if I bring your name up, that she will probably, all the things you all probably talked about, guess what she's probably going to tell me about you? Oh, she talked about Nana Jane. And I was like, oh, like she would be, that would connect to her heart. And then instantly she feels something about you, and she feels connected with you because you two have a sense of understanding. And some of it is with with your grandma, and the other part is her mom.
Totally. Well, and then John's mom, your sweet hubby's mom,
I
she
had
was
two
like,
moms at the talk.
oh my God, I was in the mom section. I loved it. I see her like grab some cookies that were already pre-wrapped and like put them in her purse. And I was like, I had already done that because she tried to give me one. I was like, I already have one in my purse.
I
She goes,
already have a bunch in here.
put another one in there. And your mom starts cracking up. And like, I was like, I'm sitting in the right section. I'm acting my age. It was so great.
My mom's like, I have the silverware in my bag.
Oh my God. I can't wait to like fully act my own age, like all the time. On that note, another amazing woman sitting at that table was Gina Riley, community coach on Speaker Skills Academy, the network, and just in the fam. Gina just launched a book, which is super amazing.
On my
And
table, yeah.
what's that?
I said it's sitting right behind me on
Oh
the
yeah,
table.
yeah, yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about her book launch and how what she's really doing is really impactful, but like because of the noise on the internet and how chaotic it can feel, how presence and authentic communication can really help people like Gina cut through all of that. Like, talk a little bit about its impact on you as somebody who is obviously trained Gina, but is also a friend and a fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, Gina's a phenomenal career coach. Always has been. Even when I met her many, many years ago, I was like, oh, damn, Gina. Like,
Actually, damn Gina.
yeah, actually, literally, damn Gina. And I was like, wow, she really knows her stuff. And she ended up writing an article on me for some of the career stuff she was doing, on storytelling and why it's important. And she really, I really noticed that she was somebody that was doing career coaching really well,
Mm.
because, and then it came to fruition in her book all these years later. Her book title is Qualified Isn't Enough.
Mm.
Qualified isn't enough. Think about that. And we could tie that. It's so meta because we could say speaking isn't enough.
Totally.
It's what's beyond the resume. And so she even says there's nothing in that book that's going to tell you like how to make a better resume. That's not what I'm trying to help you see. I'm trying to help you find your unique value, into this world and stuff, and how you can further your career by highlighting yourself. But also she talks about connecting as well. You can't go to a job interview and be like, oh, you asked me one question. All right, let me get settled. It's a 20-minute answer. And so there has to be this kind of connection. And she is phenomenal. Her book is so great. I wrote a review for her on Amazon this morning. I was like, even if you're not looking for a job, if you want to know how to tell your story, read her book.
Yeah.
Even if you're not trying to further your career. And as a coach in our community, she brings her uniqueness. Mark and I have been, speaker storytelling coaches for decades, but she's got real life experience with executives and coaching people in career transitions, which are hard to do.
Mm.
So she brings something to our community that nobody else can. That's part of her story.
Yeah. I've loved watching Speaker Skills Academy evolve from this awesome idea that you and Mark Williams had to like take your superpowers as people who've trained amazing speakers, who are amazing speakers yourself, who have been on massive stages, mini stages, and everything in between, and then foster this community of other people who you and Mark are training to take their superpowers and bring that level of confidence and clarity and everything from tone to body language. Even I can't remember who ran this session, but there was like the topic was like speaking without speaking, essentially the power of like silent communication and sitting quietly, if that's for 30 seconds, for 3 seconds, right? Like just the power of holding space in front of, again, an audience of 2 people or 200 or 200,000 people. And that's one of the things that I gather from Gina's confidence, that even though she was a prolific thought leader and an expert in her own way before coming to Speaker Skills, I've seen her just from the sidelines as a fly in the wall really like increase her confidence and her capabilities of just like, now she's a community coach, right? That's just, I love it.
On that same note, I was thinking, it made me think about Alexina. And when Mark and I launched the coaching certification program within the community, we had we were thinking about a couple of things, and we were going to ask a couple people. And when I called Alexina one day and I asked her, would you want to do this? And she was part of our community because she wants to be a speaker coach herself. And she does great work. She's a consultant with really big name corporations and does a lot of great stuff in marketing, and she's phenomenal. And Alexina was like, "Ooh, but is it weird that it's like you guys are speaker coaches and then I'm trying to be one too? Like, is that competitive?" I was like, "No, nobody can be you." And oh my gosh, you know what Alexina is just fabulous at? She talks about voice and energy. She talks about things that only Alexina can talk about. And so she brings this uniqueness as one of our community coaches that Mark can't bring, or that I can't bring, or that Gina can't bring. And Alexina has it, right?
Yeah. Well, that goes back to what we kicked this talk off with, the authenticity, really, and like bringing that forward. And it reminds me of, when I was recently visiting Chicago, my sweet hometown, for better or worse.
312.
312. I'm never getting rid of that area code ever, or that cell phone number rather. One of my old photography professors, and by old I mean old, he's 95 years young, and I was like, "Are you going to make 100?" He's like, "Why?" I was like, fair. But I had years ago said to him, "I'm feeling a little bummed out as a creative. I feel like every picture has already been made." And he was just like, "Okay, so go make some more," right? Like, nobody has made the picture that you're imagining from you. Nobody has made the portrait, particularly around like people and faces. And he's like, besides that, not everybody in the world has had their portrait made. Not everybody has had their portrait made by Kaz. And this is when I was very focused on digital media and storytelling with imagery. And it occurs to me now with what you're saying with voice, the same with image, and especially in the age of automation and artificial intelligence, and how like owning these superpowers, each one of us, we're snowflakes, I'm a millennial. We're all so unique. But
there's so many of us, but we're all unique.
There are a lot of us. There are a lot. So as we wrap up, I want to just hit on a little bit of like some practical ways that, whether or not you think you're a leader, a change maker, an industry disruptor, like all the way from just the common worker bee, all the way up to C-suite executives, to people who are like, you know what, I'm retiring and I'm just going to focus on like exacting this talk inside of me so I can get on a big stage. What are some of the key things that anybody who talks can be practicing so they can be heard without having to shout, whether it's on the internet or in real life?
Well, first I'm going to start from this level, Rose, really quick. I'm going to say, if you want to be better at anything, you don't get better at the thing when you're doing the thing. You only get better when you're drilling and practicing. If you're playing basketball, you're not getting better in the game when the pressure's on. If you're a pianist, you don't get better when you're performing. You get better at all those long hours that you practice and you worked, right? So first of all, if you want to get better at speaking and storytelling, you have to drill certain things like we do in Speaker Skills Academy. We drill on silent speaking. We drill on metaphorically speaking. We drill on how to add humor. But if you want to look for a fun way to just even practice your speaking, I think I'll just throw a drill, because we always have these like fun drills, right? This is one of my favorite ones. I love this. It's like expanding your vocabulary. I love to play the rhyming game, and you can do it with either one. I love the one where you say, like, I start off with don't hate, educate. And then you have to say don't hate, and you have to rhyme with hate. So you say any word, don't hate, reciprocate, whatever. We go back and forth. What it does is it starts to spark your mind a little bit, and it starts to bring in new words, because your brain wants to go to the same stuff that you hear all the time from other people. So your influence from other people creates the vocabulary that comes out of your mouth. You have to intentionally go, what words can I come up with from my brain and my heart? And I'm going to practice those. So that's one that I love. That's super fun.
That's good. And I can't not say this right now. One of Speaker Skills Academy's flagship, like the thing that we do the best is the skills drills, right? And I make the joke that it's communication squats, because
Yes.
Coach Cathey says we can't get better unless we practice. And it's the dedication to actually coming to those Zoom rooms and doing the thing. And it's not just like practicing how you're talking, right? It's like actually it's how you say it. Back to that, adage of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think it's interesting when you really think about what you're saying, really put the consciousness of like, am I pulling this from, you said, your head and your heart? Am I pulling this from something I just heard on the radio or on the subway or at, lunch in the cafeteria at my office or whatever? It's like how you get to then authentically actually communicate what you're trying to say if you're really focusing on pairing these two parts, these two things, a couple organs that are kind of important, right?
Yeah.
I love how you said that. Like, you really can't get better unless you practice pretty consistently. The more reps, the better. And I forgot, we just had an open session on Speaker Skills Academy. We should mention we do that now every single month. The beginning, the first Wednesday of every month? I think we're shooting for on our open.
We do the first day of the month, so the Monday or the Wednesday, the first.
Yeah. So it's like a preview of skills drills. So if anybody in the audience has yet to attend a skills drills session, meaning you're not yet a member of Speaker Skills Academy, let me give you a little FOMO. And then also say, come to the open session. You can send DMs to either Cathey or I, whoever this chat is being aired. I'm sure we'll get back to you with a nice hot link. But if you will, talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that Speaker Skills Academy has going on besides our monthly open session.
Yeah. So, we're having we're kind of like improv meets gym meets, community meets, training, because we have skills drill sessions every week. We're going to New York, baby. We're going to New York for one of our in-person events. And, Mark and I decided we wanted to curate these really cool experiences around speaking and storytelling. At Portland, as you mentioned, we did it around TEDx Portland, one of the largest TEDx's in the world. We also went out to the gorge and a double waterfall, and I did a 4-hour storytelling training. And at the end, everybody gave a mini talk. We're going to New York to the OG, Moth's main stage, where Moth was kind of born. We're also going to go to an improv show, and we are going to do a Brooklyn Bridge story walk as well. So we're going to have this whole in-person experience. We're doing a lot of other things as well. But we're going to base all of that around speaking and storytelling. And we're all going to figure out how can we get better by looking at a bunch of different things and kind of creating our own unique experience around it.
I'm so jazzed about Creative Lab New York City, Cathey. Creative Lab Portland, I had no idea what was in store aside from, like I said, baby's first TEDx. Obviously, pairing the, as we said, communication squats and the practice on communicating. It's like, I think about it, I go do the yoga, not every day, but a lot of days, right? I do it because I like to touch my toes, but I also do it so that when I'm not on my mat, I can be like, okay, that MFer just cut me off in traffic. But instead of me being like very Chicago at it, I'm gonna be like, I might give the like or the like wave, but the days that I do my practice, I don't give the middle finger, right? And so I'm literally doing something over here so that later I can do it over there. And one of the big things I learned in Creative Lab Portland, which I am so excited about for Creative Lab New York City, is this integration of communication skills, like walking the Brooklyn Bridge in pairs with somebody you probably don't know that well, not a total stranger, but potentially somebody that you're not like riffing off of and talking to every day, to make a point by the time I'm paraphrasing what I understand the bridge walk to be, but to effectively communicate something as you're walking. It's like walking and chewing bubblegum. It's like rubbing your head and patting your belly. Like two things can happen simultaneously, and to be able to keep your focus, like I just think this is such a brilliant way of training new skills to middle-aged pups.
You know what, Rose, it is a really unique experience, and it teaches you how to do, great storytelling and speaking in the wild. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be on a bridge, and there's lots of things going on around you, and I mean, that's life. So yeah, it's just a fun way. We find new fun ways to do the old thing. The old thing is teaching people how to speak. We've been doing that forever, but can we find new ways to be creative and do different things around it? And that's what we really strive at Speaker Skills Academy.
I love that. Well, that's an incredible idea. And speaking of ideas, to take us out, we are launching Idea Talks coming up this fall.
Yes.
What inspired that?
Well, I've been a TED coach forever, and I teach people that the idea is the most important thing. And before I was ever a TED coach, I wrote a marketing book. The idea was always important. What's the idea for the campaign? What's the emotion you wanted people to feel? When I wrote my first book, that's the whole thing I had in mind. And so when Mark and I were talking, I was like, I want to create something different. And so Idea Talks are going to be 11 minutes long, and it's going to be like ultra focused on an idea that will impact and change the way people think, act, or feel.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible, because one of the things I find wonderful about hearing podcasts or TED Talks, or even on occasion, some news, is that when people can effectively communicate something that I'm curious about and then I want to learn more, it's info share, which humans, this is what we get to do. We're like, I know something, can I tell you about it? Mm-hmm. But how to impactfully do that, as we said, how to do that authentically, and how to do it in the balance that it's not just all about the thing I know, and I want to involve you, the audience, the you versus the I versus you balance. And I think Idea Talks, both from somebody who might want to participate to the folks in the audience, it's such a beautiful way to engage in this really important thing called communication, right?
Yeah. Your ideas matter, right? Your story
matters. 100%. Well, we'll be listing more about Idea Talks and how you can register if you want to share your idea and give the talk, because I believe that's also going to be facilitated and supported by you and Coach Mark to help people actually make the talk.
For the people that get selected, Mark and I will coach them. We'll tag team and we will coach them, which is like...
That's a BF.
Really, yeah.
That's kind of a BF. Like if you were going to get just Cathey to coach you or just Mark to coach you, but you're going to get like a powerhouse to get your idea ironed out, and then you like basically present the idea, and then you can invite your friends to come listen to your idea. It's pretty neat.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Cathey, as always, I love the opportunity to talk with you. I love the opportunity to talk with you on the internet and hype you up. Cathey is one of the most humble people and also one of the most talented women that I have ever met. And so it is like seriously so awesome to just kind of pick your brain and get into the nitty gritty of these incredible skills that you and Mark put together with Speaker Skills Academy. So thanks for your time, and really thanks for letting me ask you all these questions.
Thank you, Rose. And Rose, you are amazing too. We're not going to let that slide. Like, this woman is a powerhouse. So I appreciate you. You're the best. Yeah.
Thanks, Cathey. Thanks very much. All right, anyone catching this on the live or even on the replay, make sure to drop some comments, ask some questions, shout out like some of your wins of communication, and maybe if you want to be vulnerable, some of your face plants. I face plant like every couple hours on my communication, and then I get back up and put on some more lipstick, you know?
Yep, yep.
All right, everybody, stay well, stay safe.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.